All right, you are looking live. This is J&M Sports Talk, and I'm Mark, and this is Jonathan. And we are starting this show because we are passionate about sports. It's always been a dream of ours to start our own sports talk show, and so we're doing just that. Our focus is going to be college football. Season is 2 weeks away, so it's fast approaching. But just to start off the show, we wanted to talk a little bit about why we are doing this. So, Jonathan, start us off. Why are we doing this show?
I mean, of course, you said it. We love college football. We love sports in general. I mean, literally, how me and you met was literally, oh, you're an Auburn fan? I'm an Auburn fan. Awesome. Eighth grade PE, always playing sports. So sports has always been a big part of our friendship. If we weren't talking about sports or anything, we were playing NCAA for hours on end. We just always have wanted to always were the ones people judge. Hey, what do you think about this about sports? About this game coming up, especially in the fall? And we're like, you know what? Everyone has the opportunity at the same time to have a voice, and we decided, you know what? Let's put our voice out there. We can be wrong about a lot of things. I'm normally not, but we're just have the opportunity to have some fun and put our voice out there. What we think what's going on in the college football world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sports is our passion, and for me, starting this show is something that I've put off for a long time. But sports comes naturally, and we love football. We love talking about it, and we do get some people asking for our opinion. So this is going to be our platform to do that week in, week out. We're going to try to do it every Tuesday at around 7, 8 o'clock. We're going to do the recordings and upload them for you guys. So hopefully this turns into something where we get lots of viewer feedback and we can tailor to the show to what people care most about.
Definitely.
But for the purposes of this show, we are actually going to preview the 2017 season. So first question up, unfinished business, Jonathan. Who do you think, which player do you think has the most unfinished business?
Okay, so we're going to talk about player with us. We're going to start off the bat. I'm going to have to go with the guy who was a complete beast on the field last year. It will do everything you need to do for LSU. That's Darius Guice. Coming in as a backup for Fournette. Fournette had that injury bug all year. Everyone wasn't sure to be healthy. Some games they're like, oh, he's playing first play. He'd go in there, get hurt again. And he just came in. He was a beast. But I would say it's easy to be a beast when you're the guy coming in for the guy. But I want to see, can he be a beast when he is the guy? I know last year, the very last game of the year, I believe it was Texas A&M. He had almost 30 carries, 285 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was a monster that game. But can he do that week in and week out as the guy? That's what I want to find out.
That's a lot of pressure for a college kid. Sometimes the weight of being the number one guy sometimes limits somebody from a mindset. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Guys could be a Heisman Trophy winner. Really, he has that type of potential.
Especially LSU plays well.
Yep. So I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start off with Jalen Hurts. Keep it in the SEC. I think he has a lot to prove. I think he has a lot of unfinished business. You look at the national championship game. Yes, he used his legs well, but he didn't throw the ball accurately. And when they needed to move the chains, he couldn't do it. So I think that is a disaster, really, for expectations. I mean, the expectations of getting to a national championship in your first year starting, you have a lot to prove coming back the next year when you didn't get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Jalen Hurts, he has a lot to prove, and we'll see. He has competition behind him.
That freshman Tia Taluga, he can throw the ball. He definitely can. And if Hurts doesn't get the job done, he will step in. Saban said he was going to get an opportunity. We'll find out how that looks.
That's true. What about, Jonathan, what about the team that maybe has unfinished business or has a lot to prove?
For me, this is one of those where case of put up or shut up kind of. I'm going to go with Tennessee. They did a lot of great things last year, but they also fell short. In the day, they had some great late comebacks, which was awesome. Everyone remembers that tip pass they caught against Georgia. But at the same time, where did that end up leading them? They didn't get Atlanta. And for the second year, they were right there on the edge and just couldn't get the job done. So this is really the year for them to either do it or their coach. as he's building those bricks, he might be building those bricks for the new house somewhere. So we'll find out.
That's true. That's true. High expectations for Tennessee that were undelivered last year. Team that has the most unfinished business, most to prove, I would say that would be USC. USC was heralded as one of the top two teams going into last year. Alabama, they got stumped in that game, 52-6, and that kind of put the beginning of their season on just a huge disappointment. And then they go out, win their next game, and then they lose back-to-back Pac-12 games against Utah and Stanford. USC should not be losing to Utah. So they started out the season 1-3 after having those high expectations. I think USC, what did they do in response to that? They reeled off 9 straight wins.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Capping it off with a Rose Bowl victory last second against Penn State. So USC had a lot to prove last year. They didn't deliver it, but they've got a lot of talent coming back, and they've recruited a lot of talent. So I think USC, they have a lot to prove, but I think they'll deliver on it. We'll get more into that on our predictions later in the show.
Yeah, like you said, the recruiting there, again, it's been top-notch the last year or two. What you expect from USC. All right. So as we move on, as we talk about the players and the teams, how about the coaches? Everyone's always on. There's always somebody on a hot seat, or who do you think will be on a hot seat if they don't do well this year?
Yeah, and we'll probably talk. This won't be the first time we talk about this.
No.
It'll probably be into the season. We'll keep talking about new coaches that are on the hot seat. But today, I think I'm going to piggyback on your Tennessee, and I'm going to give you Butch Jones. Butch Jones, back-to-back 9-4 seasons. That's great, but the Tennessee expectations are national championship, and they've yet to go to the SEC championship with Butch Jones at the helm. So
They haven't been since Fulmer was there.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah, so I think Butch, he has to deliver the SEC championship, at least getting to that game to save his job. I mean, as talented, they were preseason top 10, and they finished the season lackluster again. They lost to Vanderbilt on the last game of the season.
No slight on Vanderbilt. I mean, Zach Webb and all their linebacker and running back were beasts, but yeah.
They do have talent, but when you're at Tennessee, I mean, you can't lose to Vanderbilt. So another Vanderbilt slip up, and Butch Jones is gone.
Yeah.
Jonathan, who do you have?
This is another one. Again, I'm like, it's more of a put up or shut up type mentality, and some people are gonna probably think I'm crazy with this one, but I'm gonna say Jimbo Fisher. FSU for a while there was always that team on the rise, and up to 2013 they finally got that championship. They finally got the job done, but then what happened right after that? They just slowly made that decline back down. And last year they finished, third in their own division? You can't, for Florida State, where they expect to be, you cannot finish third in the Coastal Division. They're expecting to be top 2 in their division at least every year. And do I think they have the talent this year to do it? Yes. But until they do it, Jimbo Fisher right now is on the hot seat. So
yeah, and you look at Jimbo Fisher. He was being courted when Les Miles was let go at LSU last season, and so you were looking at him being at the top of the coaching search to basically not even being considered for the job. A lot happened with that, but I say all that to say that it's interesting how now he's on the hot seat for his own job and fighting for that. So a lot of Florida State fans out there watching this. I know you guys have high expectations. And is Jimbo Fisher the guy that's going to deliver the national title again?
I mean, let's say you could argue one play goes different. He didn't even get that national title. So we'll see how it goes. I think we'll talk about it more later. I would think, do they have the potential there? Yeah, I do. But we'll get into that more throughout the night. But yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about expectations. Now we're going to go through the conferences and give our thoughts on the Power 5 conferences and who we think are going to be in the championship game and possibly in the playoff. So starting out, Jonathan, we're going to talk ACC. We're going to start with the A's. Who do you think is going to be in that championship game?
All right, well, some Florida State fans are not going to be happy with this pick right now. I know they're not. But I have Miami going for the Coastal Division. I mean, they've improved every year. They've got a great defense coming back. They have some skill players, and to be honest, that whole division is definitely waiting for someone to take over. That division is wide open. So I think it's Miami's right there. Another team I might consider right there would be Georgia Tech. With as much as I enjoy watching a triple option team, I don't trust the triple option team enough to consistently do it every game of the season. So with that in mind, I'm gonna go with Miami. But on the flip side, I'm gonna boost you up a little bit. FSU. I actually have FSU playing them in a rematch of the championship and winning. Again, let's say a lot to expect from Jimbo Fisher to get done, but they have the talent to do it. Again, they're going to have one of the best defenses in the country. And then, of course, you got DeAndre Francois at quarterback. He proved last year, no matter how much he got beaten by that O-line not protecting him, he proved he's a gamer and he was going to fight his way through every game. So when you have a guy like that, you hope that offense improves so he doesn't take quite a beating so we can really see what he can do. But right now, I have FSU beating Miami in a rematch for the championship.
All right. Well, FSU, they have to compete. We were talking about this earlier, but the Atlantic Division is becoming like the SEC West of college football. You've got Louisville, you got the defending national champion Clemson Tigers, and you got FSU. That's hard to make it to the ACC championship. So, but if you ask me today, I think I'm going FSU. Here's why: they've got a returning quarterback. They're loaded with talent, and so I think they'll get the job done. I think they'll be there at season's end. And then as far as the Coastal, I mean, it's a coin flip. The consistency in that division is a coin flip. But you think about all the turnovers at quarterback, you really have to weigh who's got the best defense, who has the best special teams. So this is a little bit of a dark horse pick. But I'm going to go with Virginia Tech in the ACC, playing FSU. Fuente has done a great job with recruiting. He did it at Memphis. He's doing it at Virginia Tech. And then you've got Bud Foster. Bud Foster has done a proven great job building defenses. So all in all, FSU, Virginia Tech, I've got FSU winning that division.
That would be definitely a great matchup. I'd enjoy watching it. As a Virginia Tech, we're talking about special teams. So it's obviously you're going to be listening to a lot of entertainment this
year. Yep. Okay, so next on board, we got the Big Ten. Big Ten, who you got, Jonathan?
Let's say this is going to be, as much as I hate it, I feel like there's a lot of great teams in the Big Ten this year. There's going to be a bunch of the second and third team. There's going to be a lot of fight between them. But at the end of the day, it's going to be, seems like the same old. We're going to get a consistent Wisconsin team, average 10 wins a year, massive O-line, and then they're going to be facing the same old Buckeyes. I have the Buckeyes beating Wisconsin in the championship. It's just, at the end of the day, you got JT Barrett coming back. Their only biggest loss on offense is Samuels. Really, he's got most of his weapons coming back in that defense, just reloading. And then you can't leave out the fact they have Urban Meyer as a coach, whose proven track record speaks for itself. He gets the job done wherever he's at. So, again, it's going to be another Buckeye year, the Big Ten.
I bet Florida fans love hearing the word Urban Meyer, right?
I know, right? I don't even think most SEC people care for it. But, yeah, at the end of the day, you got to respect the man.
He does a great job. Yeah,
Yep.
He really does. He recruits and he gets the most out of his players. For me, Big Ten, it's kind of a coin flip. You've got Michigan, you've got Ohio State, and you've got Wisconsin, and you've got Penn State. I think those are all the big players in the division.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to say Ohio State isn't there at the Big Ten championship game. That's kind of walking out on a ledge, but I'm actually going to give the nod to Penn State. Penn State made it to the Big Ten by beating Ohio State last year. And I think Penn State is poised to do it again. McSorley at quarterback, and they've got a great running back returning. So I think Penn State will get there. Wisconsin, I'm definitely in agreement with you. I think they'll be there. They're just the most consistent team in their division. I think they run the ball well. I think they've got a returning quarterback that's a good passer. And then they're always going to be good on defense. So I've got Penn State and Wisconsin, and I am actually undecided who's going to win that game.
Okay, well, I guess you have you can keep that prerogative, not pick a winner. It's all right. But yeah, when you talk about Wisconsin for a minute there, you have to consider also the fact that Wisconsin. We're talking about consistency. Besides Alabama, Wisconsin might be one of the most consistent teams in the country.
That's true.
For the last 10 years, they're averaging 8, 9 wins plus a year. They just existed from Brett Bielema when he was even there as the coach. There's two things you expect. They're going to run the ball well, and they're going to have an awesome O-line. So I look forward to seeing that continue this year, because who doesn't love old school running the football down people's throat?
Spoken like an Auburn fan. Okay, well, let's move on. Big 12 championship. I think it's worth noting that the Big 12, they were kind of behind the times in not having a championship game. They did have one, but then with the conference realignment, you know, they haven't had one for years. Well, this year it returns. So who you got in the Big 12?
Yeah, see, from what it's looking like, because they're only doing one division, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to pick who we think the best two teams are, and there's the factors on why if they were to play each other in championship, who we would pick in that game. But because we don't know exactly the rules and how they're going to go by ties and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go the two teams I think is going to be the best in the Big 12 this year is Kansas State and TCU. I know that's not a sexy pick, either one of them, because everyone's going to be talking about the Oklahomas or even the Texas in the world because they got the new hire and all that. But at the end of the day, I know at the end of the day, defense wins championships. And I want a team that I can trust to play defense. And that's one thing K-State with Bill Snyder and Gary and they got TCU, you're going to get from them is excellent defense. In the Big 12, you need some kind of defense. And at least you can trust them to make a stop or two a game. So I have the Kansas State TCU game but as the two teams. But when it comes to that matchup, I would pick Kansas State winning. I think they're going to rally behind Bill Snyder and all the stuff he's going through medically. And it's like stuff goes like teams bond over that. They decide, you know what, we're going to do this for coach. And I really think Bill Snyder's one of those guys that he probably didn't need that anyways because he's been around forever. He's like a granddad. Forget being dad as the coach. He's probably a granddad. But then I think it's going to be K-State. And that, because at the end of the day, I don't know in a big game atmosphere, there's a part of me that will always never fully trust Kenny Hill. Maybe some of that because of the stuff he's dealt with the past ones at Texas A&M and all that. But even last year, he showed times where he was brilliant. He has the skill to pay the bill. But at times, you wonder if he was fully focused. If he matures and grows out of that, he can be a very dangerous player. But I'm going to put my money on Bill Snyder and Kansas State in that matchup.
Yeah, it's funny. The Big 12 conference has been claimed as one of the best offensive conferences in college football. And so it's interesting that you're picking the defensive teams. I think the offense is there for a lot of teams, but the defense is probably going to determine who wins the championship. So good picks there. I'm going in a totally different route with my picks. I've actually got West Virginia. They've done a great job, Holgorsen, of building the offensive side of the football there. And so I think with Will Grier, you know, the Florida transfer, you Florida fans know who he is. He got suspended after the 5 games at Florida because of taking performance-enhancing substance. So I think him transferring to West Virginia, sitting out, learning the system, I think he's going to be working on all cylinders there. So I've got West Virginia as the #1 team. I've actually got Texas. Texas has been down the past few years. Charlie Strong, he recruited well, but just couldn't get the results that Texas wanted. So very high expectations. Tom Herman comes in from Houston, and you look at what he did with the Houston program. He built that into one of the top programs in the state of Texas. So I think give him more resources, give him more players, give him more of everything, expectations. I think Tom Herman delivers. And I think he can build the type of program that his mentor, Urban Meyer, has created in Ohio State. So I've got them at #2, kind of under the radar. Mm-hmm. Also, I think what factors into my call here is Bob Stoops. He retired. He was the longest tenured coach, it seemed like, mm-hmm. in the college football game. So him being out, I think, and Lincoln Riley being the coach of Oklahoma, I think that Tom Herman is going to seize that opportunity. I've got West Virginia and Texas in the championship game, and I've got West Virginia winning it. So we'll see what plays out there. A lot of unknowns.
Yeah, that'd be a really fun matchup. My only hesitance with the Texas is the fact Tom Herman is coming in. I feel he's a great coach. We did it for Houston's awesome, but that took time. And yes, Charlie Strong's definitely recruited there. Let's look at the team, the Texas team. One of the biggest key questions for them is, do they have a running back? They lost one of the better running backs in the country last year. They lost some key guys on defense. I don't not believe in Tom Herman. I just don't think they're going to make that next step to the top. By midseason, will I think you have everything together and they're going to play a huge factor in that conference? Yes. Texas is always going to make a big decision in that conference, but I just think for being his first year, he's going to need one full year to recruit his guys. So I think the potential's there, but I look at Texas being that front runner the next couple of years. But I'm not going to give him his first year. Not going to do it. Sorry.
To the dismay of Texas fans out there. Oh well, gotta wait a year. All right, let's move on to the next conference. We got the Pac-12.
Okay. Yeah.
Pac-12 conference. Who you got, John?
Well, sound like a broken record. You can talk about USC again, the Trojans of California. I just think after riding off what they did last year, they're returning a lot of starters for some of their quarterback. I just think it's gonna be their year again. And then on the flip side, I have Washington. I say Washington making it a comeback. I don't see them being a one and done team. They have Browning returning. They have his top receiver there returning as well. I just see them being a team that they didn't lose that much, but people are going to say, oh, they lost guys like Ross and all them in the secondary. Well, that's great, but how many people actually knew who he was preseason last year anyway? So I'd say it's an ICI up for those schools' mentality anyway. They haven't proven themselves, and they still have a lot they feel they left on the field. They got stuck with Bama first round in the playoffs. But I'm sure that eats at them every day, so that's only going to make them stronger and work harder. So that's why I have both of them. Should be a good game. I'm giving the win to USC because I just feel like it's going to be their year to go pretty far.
Yeah, this is actually the only conference that Jonathan and I agree on. So I'll just cut it short. It's USC, Washington. You look at what Chris Peterson has done for Washington. He's recreated basically what he had at Boise State. So I'm in agreement with Jonathan. I think they'll get there after being to the playoff last year. And USC, I think USC has got the most talent in the nation, and I think they've got the quarterback, Sam Darnold. I mean, so much of the college game is quarterback play. So USC, I think they will take the championship game. All right. So the conference that most of our viewers probably care about is.
I think everyone cares about it in some way. It's just where they care for it to do well or not.
That's true. So let's talk about the SEC, Jonathan. Who you got?
All right. Well, I promised on Facebook for our viewers I would not be biased. I lied. I just feel like trying to put everything aside. I tried to do everything I can to avoid it, but I just think this Auburn team is going to be special. With Jarrett Stidham coming in from Baylor, he might be one of the best passers at Auburn in a long time. We're looking at maybe Damian Craig level passer. We've had some great quarterbacks since then. We've got Jason Campbell, Cam Newton, of course, even Nick Marshall. They all did things special in their own way, but Stidham, I think, might be the best passer since Craig. I think you look at, he has Craig Myers and Kyle Davis to throw to, as well as probably the best backfield in the SEC. I mean, you could argue there's some better backs individually, but when you're looking at our 4D Bez, you got Kerryon Johnson and Cam Petway to start off, and then you've got Cam Martin, who's going to be a factor this year. And then you also got like Malik Miller, who's just a bowling ball. Reminds me of the guy, was it Frank Thomas? He used to play for, or not, the guy that used to play for Carolina, Frank Tolbert. Who's just a bowling ball.
Oh, yeah.
Just busting out of there. And then you got to look at the defense. We got a true sophomore in Marlon Davidson who shined last year as a true freshman. It'd be interesting to see how he does as being the guy on the defensive line. Our secondary is solid, and then you also got T.D. Moultrie and K.J. Britt coming in to establish more depth at the linebacker role. And if even on bad drives, even if the offense can only get 30, 40 yards, that's going to get them in range most time with the best kicker in the country. There's just so many great things about this Auburn team this year that it's just due for them to put things together. The last few years they've been right there. I'm just saying that there's so many other great teams in the West, but I have Auburn winning the West, and then I have them beating Georgia in the East. I think this is the year Georgia puts it together as well. They come down to it, and they're going to be able to beat everyone they need to beat. It's really going to come down. There's 2 games. They play Florida, and then of all people, they have to play South Carolina right after that. I think those 2 weeks right there is going to determine and lock up the East for Georgia. So.
Yeah, we'll get your thoughts on that in a second. So for the SEC, who do I have? Trying to be unbiased here. I actually have Georgia. I'm in agreement with you. Georgia will be there come December. But I have LSU. Now, I'm not going with the consensus Bama. Bama has been on top for a while, but just because of the quarterback uncertainty, I think they've underperformed there. You know they're going to have talent. LSU, toe-to-toe every year in recruiting. And so LSU, I think with Geis, as Jonathan stated earlier on in the show, they bring in 2 new coordinators. You've got Canada from Pittsburgh, and then you've got Dave Veranda from Wisconsin. He was one of the best defensive coordinators in the nation last year. So just a coup of getting great coaches surrounded with great talent. I think that's a mixture for LSU to take Bama out. For Georgia, you've got the quarterback Eason, who's returning. You've got the running back Nick Chubb, who was a preseason Heisman candidate last year and has had some good seasons before injuries. So all that mixed in with the Kirby Smart defense, I think he's got him on all cylinders. I think Georgia versus LSU, that's going to be a hard game to pick. But if I had to pick today, I'm going to pick LSU. Their expectations aren't super high, but I think they can overachieve this year and win the SEC championship.
So again, we both have Georgia falling short in the championship.
Yeah,
that's still seems like we've seen this before, and I'm sure Georgia fans would not appreciate another loss in Atlanta, but at least they'll get there this year.
Yeah. Now, Jonathan, we were talking earlier. You have a crazy prediction for the SEC East. Talk more a little more about that.
I feel like again the East. We talk about. I mentioned it too as the Atlantic is in the ACC. For how dominant the West is, the East is wide open. And some of it's because of schedule, but a team to look out for who could play a factor that I have right now, I could see them running the table with only 1 loss, and that beat to Georgia, is South Carolina. Will Muschamp last year in his first year there, you could tell he obviously upgraded that defense immediately from skilled play calling alone. And he's got a leader in Sky Moore, might be one of the best individual defenders in the SEC, if not the country. He's led South Carolina in tackles all 3 years he's played, which that's something not many players can say they did in college, no matter how good they were. Throw that in with a very good and improving Jake Bentley at quarterback. He's got some nice weapons. They've got a couple running backs that can get the job done. They're bringing back a veteran O-line, which is another key. Where it's come down to I don't see them losing a game but Georgia. They play their 2 toughest games beside that is they play a neutral site game early in the year against NC State. That might be a loss just because it's early in the year, and then they play Clemson as well. And Clemson, I'm not really sold on this year. I know they're the defending national champs, but when you lose a guy like Deshaun Watson and all the guys they lost on defense, and they lost their big target receiver, I'm not sold on Clemson at all. I don't even have them in the top 3 of their division this year. So that's my crazy prediction. South Carolina ends up with 1 loss this year. Will it happen? We'll see, but the potential's there.
Yeah, the cupboard is definitely not empty with Steve Spurrier being there. He's got offensive talent recruited. And then with Will Muschamp, being there. He's turned around so many different schools' defenses. just by being there for a year or two. So interesting. We'll see how that plays out. So we predicted all of our conference championships. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the playoffs. So the playoff is the final 4 teams. What we're going to do, we're actually going to add a layer of suspense to it.
And we're sorry about that. The little sensor decided to go off. We'll just try to make sure to move every few minutes a little more.
Yeah. Adding to the suspense.
Right.
The lights out. So we're going to talk about the first 4 teams out. So these are the teams that didn't quite make the cut for the final 4. So Jonathan, who you got?
All right, so I'm just going to going with my crazy prediction because I just see how the fact that the SEC being the name of it is, and the fact that I see a lot of teams with a couple losses this year. I have number 8. I'm sitting South Carolina, the Gamecocks at number 8. Sitting there, if they end up with 1 loss, I don't see them getting in the championship game or getting in the playoffs because I feel like they'll lose. They'll have that loss to Georgia. They may tie in records, but the tiebreaker will go to their game. At 7, I have Wisconsin losing. They lost their Big Ten championship game. 6, I got Georgia. And then at 5th, just sitting out, is Bill Snyder and Kansas State.
Okay, yeah. So a couple of dark horse teams there. I mean, the South Carolina pick. I mean, that's out on a limb.
Yeah.
I got to give you props for going out on a limb.
So y'all heard it here first.
We'll talk more about that as the season goes along.
I might get ribbed about it, but okay.
Yeah. So number 8. Who am I going with? I've got the loser of the Big Ten championship. So it might be Penn State, might be Wisconsin. So whoever loses that game, I think that's the deciding factor in them being put out.
Again, you won't make a pick, huh?
Well, at least I'm not going for South Carolina. We'll see. We'll see. Coming in at number 7, I have Louisville. Louisville, we talked about the Atlantic Division. They got to compete with Clemson, and they've got to compete with FSU. I think they'll have a pretty good season with Lamar Jackson returning, the returning Heisman Trophy winner. But I don't think they get to that championship game. I think FSU beats them head-to-head. They get that revenge that they lost last year.
That game's in the dope, too. So Louisville's going to have to go down to get rematch for that beating.
That's the deciding factor. Who has home field? It's FSU. I think they get the nod. So Louisville coming in at number 7. Number 6, I have Bama. So Bama's been on top the last couple of years. They've gone to the national title game the last 2 years, won 1 time. They just are a machine in terms of recruiting and getting the results on the field. But because of what I said about LSU, I think that LSU is going to shock Alabama this year, even on their home field. LSU is going to beat them. And so I've got Bama on the outside looking in because they didn't win their conference championship.
Okay.
And then I've got last Ohio State, number 5 there. I mean, Ohio State, they do a great job of recruiting. Urban Meyer's doing a great job. But I think because Penn State overtakes them, I think not winning the conference championship will actually come to haunt them this year. Whereas they got in last year, they won't get in this year. So I've got Ohio State rounding out that last spot.
We both got them in the top 5, so it's just good chance they're gonna have a good year. All right. So I guess I'm gonna go on to my remaining 4, the top 4, the ones that get to go dancing. I have sitting at 4, which the seeds, of course, is gonna be more political than anything else. We know that, but right now, just top 4, I have Florida State. Again, 3, we got, of course, we've been talking about them all day. USC, the Trojans. And them getting in after winning the Pac-12. At 2, I just think because there may be a loss in there, whoever the SEC champ is. In my opinion, since Auburn won, I have Auburn at 2. And then at number 1, I have Ohio State. So I have Ohio State getting into the bubble and getting to play. So those are my top 4.
Okay. Top 4, man, it's really hard to call this early on in the season. So much of this could change. But if we have to pick today, and that's what we're talking about, I'm going to go with LSU at number 4. I think because they win the SEC championship, I think they're going to be beat up in that SEC West. You know, that's one of the best conferences in college football, if not the best. And so I think they'll come in with a loss or two, and that will be the reason why they're number 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, number 3 seed, I've waffled back and forth on, is it going to be Penn State or Wisconsin? I think the winner of the Big Ten championship gets that spot. So that might be Penn State, might be Wisconsin.
You're not gonna still lean one way or the other.
Okay, all right. You're going to press me about it. You're going to press me about
Our
it.
viewers want to know.
Yeah,
Penn State or Wisconsin, you've had enough
I
time.
think because of the transition of the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, I think that Penn State will get the nod. If you're
Okay,
pressing me on it,
fine.
I'm putting Penn State there.
Yeah.
Okay, you happy?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. That's good.
That's the one I would have picked between those two too.
And then for my top 2 teams, I've got the 2 most talented teams in college football, in my opinion, FSU and USC. I've got FSU number 2, and I've got USC number 1. I think there's so much talent there, and for those 2 teams, as long as they take care of their business and protect the quarterbacks, they will both be there at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And all that playing out, I think USC and FSU make it to the championship game, and I think USC takes all the marbles. Sam
Okay.
Darnold, Clay Helton, they had a year, they reeled off the 9 straight wins. I think that momentum carries them into this season, and I think they win it all. Who you got?
Yeah, that would be a fun matchup and great championship. I got USC going all the way to the championship. I have them losing to Auburn. It's 13 years in the making. At the end of the day, there's just something special about this Auburn team. Give me game 1 or 2, I'll know what it is, but it's just still there's just so much talent and a hunger there that I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid. I'll admit it. I'll go with it, but I just think it's gonna be Auburn's year, and we're gonna both be happy. We're gonna be doing maybe we can do a championship game audio live from the game or something.
Yeah.
Even if we can't get in it.
Broadcasting live.
Facebook Live outside the stadium. We'll both be happy. But yeah, today it's just something special about this Auburn team. But it's gotta be their year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it all plays out. But right now, that's who we have as our top teams. We thank you guys for joining us on our first show. We endured a power outage,
Yeah,
and
we'll figure out a way to take care of that next week.
yeah. But we thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, we would love for you to post them either on Facebook or on YouTube, and we will be sure to address those next Tuesday. But Jonathan, you got any parting words?
I appreciate everyone that's watching this, especially there's always just something fun dream we've always had, and we're finally doing it. We know I'm sure we made a ton of mistakes this first one, and we'll probably make a ton more next week, but we're just bear with us while this is a new process that we're learning too. So, but I just hope you enjoy the show and maybe you can learn something new out of it, and we can learn as well. So that's it for us. Look forward to catching y'all next week.
All
We'll
right.
get 1 week closer to real football.
Yes, can't come soon enough.
Nope.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday.